Support Narativ's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download.
Why can't we just get this stupid? I am going to go on a rant right now about that fucked up GSA Emily woman. What the fuck is she doing? People are going to, where are the personal injury attorneys? And I want all, this woman, by not signing this paperwork and letting the transition team and the scientists get their eyes on what's actually going on so that they can fucking protect us, right, on day one to the best of their ability. And it's going to be running uphill as it is, because it's like you remember that scene in Hangover, right? Someone did a cartoon about this where they wake up the day after they all got accidentally roofied, and there's like a chicken and a tiger and like a burning couch and pizza and no pants, and we lost our friend and a baby in the closet.
Yeah, Mike Tyson.
And Mike Tyson, right?
That's correct.
That's what the White House is right now. These people they haven't been doing their job for 4 years. They've just been partying. This is the woman who had some kind of sex on the rooftop party, right? Because she wants everyone to like her. This is the most broken human being.
Who did?
This GSA Emily.
She did not really have one.
Some kind of,
like on the top of GSA headquarters or on the White House?
She had some kind of party. I'm going to find it. She signed off or whatever on some kind of party where they drinking alcohol.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow. There you go.
This woman she is the worst. And I'm sorry. I'm ready. I'm ready for the personal injury attorneys to line up with families, surviving family members, and people who are still alive but injured from this virus, and start fucking suing these people. Go for it.
Glenn Kirshner has been on this very program, and man, we're usually the vanguard of aggressive, right? Mm-hmm. We're out there and, prison on an asteroid. So when anybody jumps ahead of me, I'm like, whoa. When Kirshner comes on and says depraved heart, manslaughter, or murder too, and he's just like, yep, man, because that dude did that for what, 26, 27 years, taught by Bob Mueller, put the worst dudes possible away.
For murder. Yeah.
For murder. And he's like, and he just went, boom, first year law student could do this. Boom, open and shut. It was like,
that's right.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You've got this administration, which is now, again, doing this willful withholding of data. I saw Dr. Bright, was fired from BARDA originally by Trump for whistleblowing about the certification of medication. He's now being hired by the Joe Biden transition, and he's not getting any access or any information. Nothing. So they're going to try and come up with a plan for how they're going to not only deal with testing and with this huge surge, which is going to hit them by January, but they've also got to plan vaccination distribution for an entire country, 300 million people. And they are not getting any access to what might be the plans. Who knows if they have plans? The Trump administration said they had some, but we haven't seen them. So there might be nothing planned for all we know, and they might burn those on the way out anyhow. So, it's a question of the stuff you're asking about Emily and about all these, all these other sort of loose ends that are around this coronavirus investigation are really important, because it changes everything if there's a different motive and a different, if someone is got different ideas in mind or has a different sense of morality or maybe just wants to destroy America for whatever reason, we sort of need to know that, because it changes the dynamic of what we can expect from them.
Straight up profiteering.
Profiteering.
Straight up profiteering.
Exactly. That could be just as easy as that. Just as easy, which is, of course, they're doing. 300 million doses times 2 of these vaccines is a lot of money for whoever's manufacturing those vaccines. We all have to get 2 doses.
And even before the vaccine, the PPE. Look at this shit, right? That Jared Kushner took it all off the market and then handed out contracts to buddies.
Yeah, exactly. And you talk about PPE and the Chinese economy. Before China was before this happened, China was in a bit of difficult situation. It was there was a 3-decade low in their growth rate, 3 decades in 2018. There was all this pressure on them to come up with the stimulus measures, which they turned out not to do. And then there was also this promise of this trade pact that was meant to come. That's so before we had a big crisis for China, economic, woes were coming, and maybe the end of the Communist Party in China. Come the pandemic, everything turns around in China. Now, their imports are booming. In September, rising 13%. That's the imports into the country and year over year. And their exports rose 9.9% year over year. And what are they fueled by? They're fueled by PPE and electronics. So, in fact, you're absolutely right that there's straight up profiteering just because the people need the supplies around PPE. Go ahead, Eric.
But 2 points. One, don't ever forget that the Chinese Communist Party is famous for being completely full of shit about their statistics. They have no problem lying to anyone, and they are making some very extreme moves in their markets. Long story, I won't go into it, but they had a meeting the other day that indicated that perhaps they understood that this thing is going to look ugly because they have all these international relationships, right? They're manufacturing, other people take them in. They got, ties into Italy, like you talked about, into the United States, this global plan, right? They had a meeting about China returning to what's known in the economics trade as autarky, which means where you only trade with yourself. That's a hell of a shift in strategy, right? And so they had a big meeting with an all hands on deck Chinese Communist Party meeting about, so let's plan out what would happen if nobody traded with us at all. I'm going to go out here on a ledge and say the only reason that you'd be thinking about that is you're worried that the rest of the world, like the world, is going to be so pissed with you on a historic scale that you'll be forced into that. And there have been major shifts like the Quad, which is this new pact of 4 countries, the United States, Australia, India, and Japan, cutting off mining and the dependence on any rare earth minerals, metals, and their refinement, basically yanking the most important parts of the modern supply chain away from China entirely. That is a move that it sounds really boring unless you understand industrial supply chains, and that is these are things that take a while to for decisions to make. I think some of the national governments out there that aren't guessing, they do have classified intelligence. I think China is in major trouble, and I think those 2 moves alone show that China knows it, and many of our allies know it.
I mean, they've certainly, shut down everything external in terms of reporting or journalism from China. A bunch of New York reporters from American newspapers, big chains like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times were expelled right after Wuhan. The journalists that I talk to are still there on these tiny short sort of visas. They're basically there on a month-by-month basis, and they are always followed no matter what they do. So they can't, you can't go and report there like you can go report here. You can't do that kind of stuff. So it's all just, guided tours by specific people, specific officials. So getting to the heart of the story of what happened in Wuhan is almost like impossible because there was such a big cover up initially by Xi. They covered up any groups, any online groups for relatives who are getting together online, whether there was Zoom or other kinds of groups. They shuttled those down. There was that mystery around the doctor who was the first whistleblower, and then he was he died. There was
sad.
Photographs were eliminated from the internet, so we don't really know what happened in those first few weeks at Wuhan because of this giant cover-up. And then on top of that, there's no independent reporting coming out of there now, so we don't even know. We just don't know. Maybe the situation in China is much worse than we are being told, or it could just be that they don't have many cases at all. But they're certainly bringing back all the forces back into China behind that wall. We're not, as you were pointing out, Eric, it's not surprising that they are thinking about how do they do an economy where they don't have to export, because they might be isolated if any of this turns out to be real.
And they are getting into it with Australia something big, because the Aussies, man, for
what's going on down there?
What incredible allies they are to this country, for one. Never had more respect for them, but they've had a real problem with Chinese espionage, and they are just coming out and just talking about it. And there's stories of their members of parliament, bags of cash, casinos, and they're just shutting that down. And the Chinese government, and think about it, you got, what are there, 28 million Aussies, somewhere in there, somewhere 25 to 30 million,
maybe a little bit more.
Sorry, guys.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but we'll look it up.
I think they're similar to Canada's population, but the Chinese have 1.1 billion, right? They are so pissed with Australia right now that they were writing some propaganda from one of their propaganda Twitter accounts from the government, and they were complaining about Canada because we're pissed with Canada too, because they won't give back the CFO from Huawei for the espionage stuff she's gonna get. She's been indicted for down here in the
Keep going.
No, the punchline is, like, they were so pissed at Australia that they did the story about Canada, and the preview photo on Twitter was of the Sydney Opera House. It's just like the weirdest diplomatic Freudian slip. It's like, and you're racist, and you bad this thing, and Canada, and there's no Mounties, there was no maple syrup or a mousse. It was Sydney. It's like, Canada. They're like, I think something's on your mind, guys. But and can we just say, look, sorry. Go
ahead. No, go ahead. Can we just say what?
No, I just wanted to say that the Chinese. Okay, I get that they partnered with the Russians, but look, we're all pretty expert in Russian propaganda, having bathed in it for as many years as we have now. As always, I always say we respect our enemies. They do clever work. They're good at this shit. The Chinese are this horrible, generic brand knockoff, and they try these operations, they try the propaganda, or like they accuse us of racism. It's like, no.
That's right.
We need
That's right.
And so the Russians know how to do it, and Russians know how to get in and poke at our black and white thing, or anybody's regional thing. And the Chinese are just like, you're a racist against China. It's like, no, it was the economic espionage, dude. That's what we're pissed about.
Yeah.
Chinese people.
So
I'm
glad you went there. Yeah, I'm glad you went there, because again, I keep saying, sometimes it's the opposite of what it looks like, and never count out just stupidity, right? I also don't want to give our sort of adversaries in other ways these big gifts of making them mythic, right, in their abilities. Mm-hmm. I think it, just to connect these two thoughts, we were definitely starting, not that Trump was going to help with any of this, but especially as Trump is on his way out now, holding on whatever he can, but he's done. The espionage in our academic institutions, in our businesses, what China has been doing, it's very, very apparent now. It's very apparent that they have just been stealing and grifting and sending, dumb operations are even dumb. But going in, and it's been a long time of just taking our shit. And we've known about the intellectual property theft for a very, very long time. So is it advantageous for them, while that's sort of being seen and caught, right, for then, oh my God, virus, that originated here, it's now a pandemic and it's killing a bunch of people. It kind of feels like there's a bit of a clown show. There's always a possibility that it's a bit of a clown show over there, and that this whole fucking thing is not what was expected or wanted, and that's why they didn't say anything. That's why they locked shit down, and that they tried. You can't contain something like this when it's going to go like that. Like they fucked that up, and now it's like the whole world's going to be like, get out, Xi, right? Again, not Chinese people, but this government that has just been, not doing their own stuff, just stealing from everybody else and saying it's ours. Oh, come get us, right? Ha ha. You rely on us. How could you do it without us? I do think there's a lot of clownery going on and a lot of obviousness happening, and I don't know that it's going to end well for Xi. I don't.
I don't think so either. And I think he was having a hard time anyhow.
A big mess. Yeah.
But would there have been a coronavirus crisis as large as we are having without a Donald Trump? Probably not. I think we all agree that Donald Trump has made it much worse, especially in the United States. And would we have had with the fact that Donald Trump was installed by China's main ally, Russia, and then China then follows up with a coronavirus after just a week after securing a good trade deal with Mr. Trump. I mean, all of that just to me, look at that timeline, and it makes me feel very, very suspicious about why all these things are happening in the sequence that they are. And did they make it a lot worse? Having Trump in the White House, for sure. Having him, involved in both these decisions, in the trades and in the handling of coronavirus. Yeah, things got much worse because Donald Trump was there, and it certainly benefited Xi and Putin to have that happen. I think you could say that pretty safely.
Benefited them, but he's also a shit-flinging, monkey-brained, right. Not even that smart, addict who can't control him, out of control human being, right. owned by everybody on the planet. Maybe that was also the big surprise of oh, we thought we owned him. Oh, no. These 10 other people own him as well. I think that was all that sort of it could be. Remember, he kept saying it could be Russia. It could be anybody. Yeah. Right? It's because you're for sale to everyone, Donald. Right?
Just take as much as you can.
You've been, spread eagled for your whole life, right? So it's that's what I think it's also, it was, he got in there. We're going to benefit off of this. And then it was oh no.
Yeah. I mean, he's
we're getting
certainly
exposed here. Oh no, they're going to take all of our offshore accounts. Holy shit. No, this guy's he can't handle any of this. He can't, he has not been able to, he still can't handle it. They still speak of him like a toddler. He's out of control. And it's just exposing everybody. Which
is a good segue into this because, here's Ivanka Trump's tweet from yesterday. Or was it the day before? I can't remember. Who knows? A few days ago. This came from your account, LB. That you posted this. I think you screen grabbed this from Ivanka.
Oh yeah.
Can you remind people what this was about? Because it's a really good one.
Well, here she is saying, because she's again so dumb. Oh my God, this woman.
This was about Moderna starting on January 13th. This was
after, and it wasn't, they're so aggrieved in there that Donald's not getting credit for anything, right? For the grifting, I guess, is what they want the credit for. That she tweets this. And I think, Ivanka, there's a lot of other people drafting tweets for this whole family, especially Donald leaving. That's why he uses his personal Twitter account, not the POTUS account. Drafting tweets, sticking them in there. We don't know who is drafting them. We don't know, but then he can tweet. He can just go in his draft folder and tweet out stuff. But I feel like she thought this was a good idea, and she kind of did this.
She must have thought this was a great idea.
She thought this was amazing. Give my dad some credit, right? She's on Parler now as well, or Parlay, everybody, just so you know. Ivanka launched her account today. But here she says that her father partnered with Moderna to create on January 13, 2020, right?
Yeah.
This vaccine. Well, how'd you know there was a virus that needed a vaccine that you had to partner with somebody on January 13, 2020?
How would you know?
3 weeks before his impeachment.
No.
Yeah.
And he's still saying that it's nothing, a couple weeks later when it gets out, he says it's going to just magically.
I'll show you the timeline.
Why would you create?
I don't remember her saying, I repeat. Yeah.
Let's take a look at this.
But I'm just saying, if this is the one from my Twitter, I did grab that from her account. I did.
This came from your Twitter for sure.
Tweet. Okay,
so that's her tweet.
That's her tweet.
And this is the way it looks like on the timeline. And this timeline's from a previous show, so I'm sorry it's so small. But, what we knew on January 13th, and you can see her tweet sort of inserted there, is that the genome had just been published by the Chinese. This is just the very early stages of this thing. And maybe a week before the first test had been produced. That's how early on Donald Trump decided to get into bed with Moderna on a vaccine. Moderna, by the way, with some sort of connection to the Koch brothers, but that's for another show. So that's really early. I mean, that's before the first U.S. case. They had already partnered with a vaccine company. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then did nothing for a few months, right? Because then they go on, or if you look down the line here, until February and March, where they were denying anything was going on. Like they were like, this is just, nothing is happening at all. But they had already partnered with Moderna.
15 cases. I kept it away. He's saying all that language. I stopped it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only, Kellyanne Conway even going, do you think it's not contained? It's contained. What are you saying, reporters? You think it's not contained? Right? All of that brazen shit.
Who told him?
In the face of a pandemic.
Yeah. It's so eerie.
Maybe somebody told her.
Yeah,
or her. With all the patents over there. Yeah.
And don't forget, in February, he also told, this will be the last slide here, but in February, he also told Bob Woodward, it's so easily transmissible, you wouldn't believe it. And then he goes on to explain how he got out of a meeting because someone
sneezed. After.
Yeah, this was in February.
A month. This was in February, a month after when Ivanka, in this recent tweet, is identifying that Donald was already working with Moderna to create a vaccine for something that didn't exist.
So two different narratives, obviously. One inside the White House where they're taking it seriously to some extent because they're signing up with Moderna and they're learning about things from some sources saying how transmissible it is, and then the public narrative, which is, hey, nothing's happening.
So let me get this straight. In terms of timing. The Republican Party uniformly kept Donald Trump in office while...
That's right.
While Trump knew that a deadly virus was on the way, to the point that he was signing up partnerships. And didn't Adam Schiff, man, that speech he gave on the floor, because he's speaking to a room full of senators who do have top secret clearance, right? Who,
That's right.
The ones who were cashing out their fucking investments a few days after this, Moderna deal's down. And then interesting, Kelly Loeffler and
those guys,
and Barr and all them, and who are telling they're telling all their donors, hey man, get out of the market. Here's the thing to do, and then
get into telemedicine. Zoom's going to be a big thing, everybody.
Exactly,
Zoom's going to be a big deal, guys. And then they voted to keep this foreign agent. And now we're at 250,000 dead Americans. I'm starting to understand why they maybe were interested in doing some election interference, because they're not going to prison. People are going to throw them in volcanoes.
Well, I hope they do.
This is looking bad.
It looks horrific. I mean, this timeline. You can see this one tweet at the bottom of January 24th. Is actually a tweet from Donald Trump. This is after he started this thing with Moderna, where he's saying, this is amazing. You did an amazing job over there.
He's doing great.
Yeah, he's doing a great job over there in China with that coronavirus. Meanwhile,
we sent them our ventilators. We sent them our PPE just the day after the impeachment. Mike Pompeo shipped them part of our national stockpile to prepare for this.
Yeah.
This is looking bad, guys.
It does look really bad. It does. And I don't think people are going to pay enough attention to this. And, that's one of the reasons I thought we should really look at this more carefully, because already there's people in the Biden camp signaling, let's move on and all these kinds of things. But I don't think with coronavirus and what feels like it's a genocide, there's just no other way to describe it. If there is actually people who are responsible for it that are going to get away with it, that does make you lose faith a little bit in the world.
No, I don't. Yeah, don't.
I don't future trip too much about it.
Don't pay attention to any of that. And if there's aides going, no, we want unity, okay, wait till you see. Wait till you get in there and you see what because you haven't been doing the work we've been doing, even in the open source. Clearly, these people are busy, right, and they're focused on other things. Just give it a second.
I think you're right. I think people are going to discover some things that are going to be pretty dramatic for them. That's
right.
Well, so I got to go with our president-elect, Joe Biden, here when he gave his press conference. And a reporter asked him, there are some Republicans who don't accept, math and counting because it's so complex that you won by several million votes. And some of them say, that they're not going to work with you. Are you worried about them not working with you? And Joe just gave that Joe Biden smile, and he goes, they will.
Yeah, he did say
there wasn't a hint of concern or doubt. He's like, oh, they will.
Yeah.
and then he walked off. That was his mic drop.
And here's the deal: if it were to be that it's like all's forgiven, it's only going to be unity. Anything that happened in the Trump era, it's a hall pass for everybody, even mass death. We won't hold anybody accountable. If that actually, that is an inconceivable thing. But if that actually were to happen, because I know people are freaking out about it, and remember that the media wants you constantly outraged and constantly freaking out. They don't want you calm, right? They want you watching and waiting for the next thing that can come. So just understand the outrage machine, right? But let's just say that were true. Then Kamala Harris's career would be dead. Joe Biden would have what he would have done is killed her career.
Support Narativ's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. And check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download.